From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, shortened practice on Wednesday, but big picture takeaways. And the Renegade Express, we're back on ponies taking your questions, our valued subscribers of Warchant.com. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, 2475 Appalachia Parkway in Tallahassee, Florida. You can always hit that QR code on your screen. It'll take you to the website. Daily lunch specials, Monday through Friday weekdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And on Thursdays, you get a cheesesteak sandwich, kids. Chicken or steak comes with a side dish of your choice. Your options are straight fries, curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, coleslaw, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. $8.99, usually like $11.99. They're hooking it up. And by the way, I do see it on my screen here, Corey. Prime rib steak sandwich, the Bear, the Nashville hot chicken sandwich. Man, they got a Cuban on there now.
Yeah.
They're bringing it. They're bringing it. You bring yourself to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. 5-star rating and review, please thumbs up as well. Thanks to the nearly 500, over 500 of you who signed up for us when we ran that promo for $1 for a month, or what was it, 25% off for an entire year. We're pretty much doubled up the next website on the On3 network. That's how much you guys care about your team, how passionate you are, and how excited you should be because this team is pretty darn good. We're a decent team, too, myself and Corey Clark. Corey, how are you?
I'm good, buddy, and I should add that I had the prime rib sandwich on Tuesday night when we finished second at trivia.
Oh, okay. Was it the best thing you've put in your mouth?
It's really good, man. The au jus is just out of control. I don't know. It's not like the au jus is this special recipe. It's just I love au jus so much.
Okay.
I love saying it. I love dipping things in it, and then I love putting what I just dipped in au jus into my mouth. But it's really good. They do a good job with the prime rib. And oh man, I don't think I remember any of these kids' names. But the ones we talked about on yesterday's show, our table was right next to them during trivia, and they did drive all the way from Destin just to go to Corner Pocket and play trivia. How awesome is that? And they actually did pretty well. Like I think the oldest was 21, the youngest was like 17. So, and there were some old type questions, like comic strip characters. Like, what is there a 21-year-old in the world that has seen a comic strip? Probably not. Do they know what Family Circle is? But just sitting there waiting to suck like it did every Sunday. But either way, they did well. They scored like 20 or 21 points or something. They did a really good job, and they were very, very kind and polite to Stephanie and Stephanie's daughter who showed up. And it was just, it was a good time. It's a good time. And that should say everything you need to know about Corner Pocket, that 5 kids drove 2 hours to come eat there and said it was worth every hour on the road to get there.
Yeah, that guy tweeted it out, but then he deleted the tweet. So I don't want to say his name or his handle because maybe he was, trying to duck somebody over in Destin. But shout out to you,
That's
folks.
right. They were on the run.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Run.
All right, let's get to Corey. You and I, as people are listening to this, we'll be firmly in place in Jacksonville, Florida, campus of the University of North Florida, where Florida State will have about a 2-day mini camp, build some team camaraderie, things of that nature. On Wednesday, they had a condensed practice, about 16 periods, I think they went.
Yeah, a lot of them special teams, right? Like probably 8 special teams.
A lot. They did do some 11-on-11, and it was pretty rough going early on. And mostly, I don't know how, again, I don't remember exactly how many team periods they did, 11-on-11 stuff, but other than the last period, the offense did not look very crisp, very sharp. This doesn't make anybody panic. I was sitting there watching it, and I'm like, good. Have a bad day. I get it, maybe some of the Daryl Jackson stuff is, bummed you out a little bit. You have a half day. You're getting on the road to drive to Jacksonville a little bit later. It's human nature. You're going to have days where maybe you need to be humbled a little bit. So, let it happen. But the way they responded to close out practice in that final 11-on-11, it kind of brought the whole good luck stopping this team for 60 minutes. They might piddle around, score 13 points in 3 quarters, and be down in a game. but then they might be able to rip off 17 in the fourth quarter and win the game 30-27 and keep the dream alive, So I was more encouraged by the way they were able to finish a rocky sort of start than I am lamenting the fact that they didn't look crisp for, the better part of that practice on Wednesday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and honestly, I'd like to break it down like what we saw 11 on 11. So the first 4 plays were Jordan Travis is the quarterback, and it's 11 on 11 to start practice. And it's this tempo drill where they're trying to go quick. It's the one time where they actually have drives during a normal practice where they will actually drive the ball down the field as opposed to just running 3 plays and 3 first down plays. Even if they hit a 25-yarder, the next play is a first down play back from the same spot, typically. This is you're actually driving down the field to try to score or get a touchdown. There's clock time, all that stuff. Anyway, Jordan Travis went 0 for 3 and then was sacked. Now, I put sacked in quotes in my observations on the website because I don't really think he was going to be sacked. And quite honestly, looking at the way the play developed on that fourth down play, he was probably going to run for about 25 yards. I mean, there was a lot of green grass, and there wasn't much to stop him there. But Norvell whistled it dead as soon as a defensive lineman got near him, so that was the end of that drive. And then A.J. Duffy threw 4 straight incompletions. So the first 8 plays that the offense ran against the defense at 11 on 11, they were 0 for 7 with a sack. So not great. But I thought then they basically did special teams for an hour. And then when they came back and did more 11 on 11, because this practice was different, like Aslan said, it was shorter. It wasn't as physical for good reason. They're gonna put on the full pads today in Jacksonville in the hot sun, and it is going to be a miserable physical practice. So they tried to keep it light for them on Wednesday. But after the special team stuff, I thought they did. They came back and played well. I thought Rodemaker, he was on the other field that wasn't necessarily working on but with Jordan, like Jimbo used to do and like Norvell does, they split up the field so they're both so everybody's getting reps. But he threw a touchdown to Rodney Hill. Then Travis I thought was better. Jordan was better. I thought the offense was a little bit better. Keon had a nice catch over the middle. A.J. Duffy made 2 nice throws. One to Jaheim Bell for about 25 yards, kind of fading back in the pocket. And another one, his best throw maybe of the whole camp, was rolling to the right. He found Burrell for like a, 15, 20-yarder near the sideline. Really nice throw. Pace, on the run. And then back and forth, up and down, nothing too exciting until Aslan mentioned that final drive with the presumed starters. You get the ball. I asked Tokars after his interview on Wednesday. I wanted to know like the exact scenario that they had on the sheet for this drive. And it was 53 seconds left, ball at the 25, 1 timeout. And first pass is incomplete to Johnny Wilson. Good coverage by Ozare Thomas. Next pass is 10-yard first down to Johnny Wilson. Next pass is 30-yard completion over the middle to Keon Coleman. Next pass is 35-yard touchdown to Johnny Wilson. There you go.
The throw to Johnny Wilson, though, everybody. Quindarius Jones in phase, running with him stride for stride on his hip. Jordan doesn't put it, too close to the boundary. He doesn't put it too close to the hash. I mean, he puts it right in line over Johnny's head. Johnny has to lunge. Brings it in fingertips somewhere between his, somewhere along his shins, like above his ankle, below his knee. He's got to lunge down, fingertips only. And part of me just wanted to yell, drop it. Just a second, like, drop it, Johnny, do it.
Well, you say that because he was running right by you. You wanted to screw with him, like Earl Woods throwing a bag of clubs on the ground in the middle of Tiger's putt or something.
Exactly. Bingo, Corey. Yeah. Decided not to do that. He decided to catch the ball. And then everybody stormed that corner of the end zone to congratulate him. I thought it was a nice crescendo, nice way to end the practice as Corey laid out the way it kind of flowed early on to close it out that way. Because, again, man, there probably will be a time, right, Corey? I guess maybe 2013. The Boston College game was a little bit of a slog in the first half. LSU, as we mentioned, had that game against Auburn in 2019. I know those are really impressive, all-time great offenses. This team has a lot of has pieces that Tony Tokars is kind of drooling over. But, yeah, man, fool around long enough with this team, they'll figure out a way to score points, I just feel like, and then they showed in that practice. What did you think about Tokars just kind of, embracing the fact that he's got, a savvy veteran signal caller and, kind of joking about that, this team, maybe he could even have a couple throws left on his arm and score some points and make some plays for this team because they're loaded. We keep saying it, but we just want to remind you, even when the coaches tell you.
Well, yeah, he I think it was you that asked him, right? Like,
Yeah.
with those weapons, what kind of quarterback would he be with the Johnny and a Keon and obviously the running backs? And that was what he said. Yeah, look, this offense, if it had a pedestrian quarterback with these weapons, would still be pretty good. It would still be top, I don't know, 25, 30 in the country with a pedestrian quarterback. With a Heisman caliber quarterback or a guy that's a Heisman contender, a guy that can make plays in a variety of different ways, when you have somebody special calling the shots to go along with all these weapons, well, yeah, that's why you get so excited about the prospects of this season. But yeah, so look, it was a display, just like it's been happening every day. You get you're like, man, they're kind of slogging through this, not looking great, which is, it's the first week of practice in August. And then all of a sudden, bang, 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 Coleman, Johnny, Jaheim, touchdown. And it's happened. They've all made big plays. It's happened multiple times. What I'd like to see as we progress is who is going to be that third guy consistently making plays from the wide receiver core. You know who the top two guys are. Who's the third guy? And that's something that still has not been close to finalized. And then going back to that final drive, what I thought was two things that I thought was neat was Darius Washington coming off the field after the celebration saying, that's how we finish a practice. Like, that's a cool thing to hear a veteran guy say, not just going through the motions like, yeah, whatever, it's August, it's August 8th. He was fired up about the way they finished. Like, it's just cool to hear people talking like that. It matters to them. They do have accountability. It sounded like a coach. It sounded like what Norvell would say, and it's one of the players. That's when you're starting to build something. And then also what was really neat, and I watched it on the replay, was before the ball's even thrown, like the offensive coaches know what the play call is and where Johnny is running. Once they see the coverage and before the ball is thrown, they know where Jordan's going with it. They're already running down the field, a few of them, with their arms in the air because they know they've got a real shot to get to the end zone. Because it's set up perfectly. Johnny is a nightmare matchup. Quindarius Jones has had a good camp, but that's a welcome to reality moment there, as it's been for most everybody other than Renardo Green that's gone up against him, and even Renardo a few times has gotten Johnny'd. But man, I was like, yeah, man, you get a matchup like that, it's like an alley-oop right to as Patrick Williams is leaving the floor. I mean, it seems like an automatic when you get 1-and-1 in that scenario and your quarterback puts it in the right spot, you're like, yeah, that's 6.
Real briefly, I want to go back to that comment you made, Corey, about like we know who the top two receivers are. Now it's like who's number 3. And you're not saying – and Corey's not saying that's a problem. Everybody's just kind of talking about what's going on out there. I mean, just think about where we were 2 years ago where it was who is the number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
Then during
Parchment or Pokey.
Yeah, and then during spring we're talking about like can Kentron be that number 2 guy? We know the guy with Johnny, but like they need a number 2 receiver. But we were kind of celebrating the fact that like, hey, listen, they at least have one really good receiver they can count on. Trying to figure out your number 2 receiver. A lot of teams are trying to figure that out. That's not an issue. That's not a problem. And then now we sit here like, oh, well, maybe the number 3 guy. Who are they going to have at slot? You keep looking at this offense, and you're like, well, they're good here. They're good there. They're good here. They're good here. Yeah, they're just good. They're good.
Yeah. And the beauty is the options, I think, in my mind, for the slot, right now, and again, we're a week in. I always have to couch and qualify what I'm saying because we're still, 4 weeks away almost from the LSU game. So in my mind, it's Winston Wright, Destin Hill, and Vandrevius Jacobs. Those would be the 3 guys I would give the most run at slot because I think I just think they are going to be weapons. I don't know who's going to get the most reps out of those 3 guys, but the point being, it is a good problem to have. It is not like you're picking who's going to be our slappy third receiver that I guess will have 19 catches this year for 180 yards, but isn't really anything special. I think all 3 of these guys can bring something special to this offense. It's not just a stopgap or a dude just to put out there because you got to have a third guy. This guy, those guys have a chance to be impact game changers, and they're your third guy. And I'm talking about third guys like third guy on the field. Like Kentron's going to get some run too, but Kentron's more of an outside guy. those three guys, I think, are the three guys that will probably get the most looks at slot. And then also, Jaheim Bell. You can split out Toafili, Benson. Like they can do so many different things in this offense. It really is just hard. Like I said, hard to stop.
On to the business of college football, realignment stuff. You need to be connected to warchant.com. Gene Williams on Wednesday, late afternoon, posted an update on what he's hearing. For you folks that want to be in the SEC more so than the Big Ten, think you'll find it pretty favorable, pretty enjoyable. So
go read it. And if you're not a member, go subscribe and then go read it.
Yeah. Also, Ross Dellinger, friend of the program, Texas. Do you see this, Corey? Texas A&M, their NIL, they're going to shut it down. Because the IRS memo that was sent, I think maybe either earlier this year or late last year. So that's happening. And then Drew Weatherford, Florida State Board of Trustee, Florida State quarterback, Land O'Lakes native, wrote on his LinkedIn a pretty strong, forceful column, I guess you would call it if he was a writer for warchant.com. But he put it on his LinkedIn, and then we went ahead and got permission from him to put it on our website. I saw the headline, and I was like, no, man, don't tell me how to live my life, Drew. It said that, college sports is dead, act accordingly. And I thought amateur collegiate sports is dead, act accordingly. And I was like, I don't want to, Drew. I want to pine for the good old days. But he's not talking about that. He's kind of talking about conference realignment. Like you cannot stand pat in this environment. I don't want to give it all away, but that's kind of the gist of it. It's more eloquently said because Drew's smarter than I am. But basically, listen, if you're not in the Big Ten, if you're not in the SEC, you pretty much have to do everything you possibly can do to get an invitation into that party. And if not, merge with other folks, all the while trying to find other ways to add to your coffer. So check out all that stuff if you like the business of college football. Corey, the Renegade Express, a place that we like to interact with our fans. Haven't done it in a while. Let's start off with this one. This is a way to get on the show. This is a way to bat first, even when you're the 10th guy in line. Spoiled by 2013's their name. Wake up! Corey Aslan, I know you've talked about some of your favorite Vitamin Energy flavors and products. If you were handling Vitamin Energy's NIL partnership, which player would you get to represent each Vitamin Energy product or flavor? For example, sounds like Sam Singleton and his speed might be a good choice for the burner shot. Thoughts? Go Noles.
It's a good question.
Focus. Who would be the Focus Plus?
Travis.
Okay.
Jordan Travis, yeah.
The Immune Plus, who hasn't missed a play? We need the Iron Man guy. Jamie Robinson, can we get him back here? Can Jamie Robinson be the Immune Plus?
I'm trying to think, guys that are they're just always out there.
Yeah.
They're always, I'm trying to,
Maurice Smith.
For years.
Maurice Smith, man. Maurice Smith always out there grinding, man.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then what else we got here? What's my favorite? I mean, the Immune Plus is my favorite. Focus. The mood. Who's always in a good mood, happy mood? Like Robert Scott? Robert Scott probably for the mood.
Yeah.
I feel like he always gets you, makes you feel good and warm and fuzzy.
I like that one. That's a good answer too. Yeah, we're crushing this so far.
Yeah. So you folks do it yourself. Let us know. Post it in the thread or hit us up on Twitter. But check out vitaminenergy.com and use that promo code WARCHAMPBOGO, BOGO. Buy one, get one free, courtesy of our friends that are Florida State alums, all ACC performers as well, over at vitaminenergy.com.
I would also offer this, Aslan, that I think if they just got one spokesman for the whole company, because it's energy, Jared Verse.
Okay. Yeah. Or Norvell. Or Mike. I mean, I know Mike doesn't need the money, but,
Yeah. No, we're trying to take care of the players, Aslan. Norvell's got he's done. He could quit tomorrow or get fired tomorrow, and he's going to be rich for the rest of his life. We're trying to take care of the players.
All right, back at it. Let's go here. Island Chief, wake up. Aslan, Corey finally get to do a Renegade Express of football to talk about and to get to ride to Duval and Corey's new coach. Speaking of coaches, Coach Pat Surtain seems to have the defensive backs playing with an aggressive approach. Is this what Adam Fuller needs to see his defense take a step up? Which players in the defensive backfield and the receivers on the offense are benefiting the most from this iron-on-iron time?
Oh, you saw Tokar's on Wednesday trying to steal my line. He said it too. It's taken over. I should have copyrighted that when I had a chance.
I meant to give a shout out to somebody. I got to scroll here and pick it up, but one of our guys said that the royalty check's probably going to be popping up your way because Tokars use that. So
Yeah. Look, every time I just hear a cash register every time I hear it. So I'm not mad at this point. I feel like I lost out the last 10 years. I just copyrighted it over the summer.
Josh Summers. Corey
okay,
Clark's Iron Sharpens Iron royalty check just got a little bump. Go Noles.
Mm-hmm.
My man.
Amen.
My
Amen.
man.
You know, look, I don't – all of them. Like, honestly, all of them. The competition level between these guys is – I would say, honestly, I was going to pick out the freshmen because I think they played well. I'm talking about the freshman DBs. But, you know, all of them are getting better. They have to. There's not a lot of just average Joes out there going through the motions, just taking up reps. They are really competitive reps. And going up against a Greedy Vance or an Ardo Green or a Jarian Jones, these dudes are older, they're good, they're competitive, they got a little mean streak to them when they're trying to get the ball out of your hands, which they're supposed to. I just think it's all good. It's all good for the receivers to go up against guys like that. They're not, occasionally you'll get a mismatch with, a really fleet-footed receiver against a safety or I don't know, walk-on. And it's a mismatch. But other than that, don't you think they're really competitive when they do these one-on-ones?
Absolutely. And I really want to shout out Fentrell Cypress. That's a guy that we did not really compliment a lot in the spring because I don't think we really needed to because I didn't really see a lot of stuff that was would warrant it. But I wasn't down on the care. I think I was just saying, hey, let's maybe not think we have Jalen Ramsey part 2. Not saying that they do, but man, he has certainly showed up to fall camp. He has been ultra competitive in every rep he's taken that I've seen in 11-on-11 work. I'm not saying that he hasn't allowed a completion his way. We've talked about it, but, man, he has been in phase. He's broken up passes. He's made it hell for whoever has caught a pass over him. So that's been extremely encouraging. And I guess maybe so. To answer the first part of the question, like they're going to have a pass rush. Even without Darrell Jackson, we feel good about Fisk. We feel good about Fuller. Fabian is Fabian. And then with, Jared and Patrick Payton.
You meant Farmer.
What did I say?
You said Fuller.
Fuller, sorry. I miss Quayshawn Fuller, man. I
know you do.
I miss him.
You can't get him out of your head.
I miss him. But then with Verse and Payton, they're going to be able to disrupt the pocket. And these DBs, to your point, Corey, like they're playing so tight. They're playing not tight in terms of like tension, but being so close in on these passes, man. I'm not saying they're going to have a whole bunch of turnovers created, but there's going to be an energy. There's going to be a ferocity to this defense, and maybe part of it is going to stem from this defensive back. These guys being able to play with such aggression and confidence. So excited to see how it's going to look. Random_John, good morning, Azon, Corey, and fellow RenEx enthusiasts. Smell of football is in the air. Let's talk conference brands. The SEC solidified with their regional bubble. The Big Ten seems to be going national. Where should FSU place its loyalty? Is it wiser to join the national market with the Big Ten or stick with the SEC's regional jamboree? Feels like choosing between a brand that's growing versus a conference that has peaked. In a decade, who's writing bigger checks, the SEC or the Big Ten? Go Noles.
Look, man, with Texas and Oklahoma and Alabama and Georgia, those are 4 of the biggest brands in the sport. If you add Florida State and Clemson to that, well, then it's it. It's over. The Big Ten can't do anything. It can't match it. But I would say this. It wasn't an argument. It was more of a discussion the other night with someone about why the SEC would want the Big Ten. Again, I've said this before, and I want to do it before because I think it needs to be thought of. The Big Ten, if it had Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, USC, Oregon, Florida State, and Clemson. Was that 8 teams that have played for national titles? It's 7 teams that you would say are perennial powers or can be. You are on par with the SEC. And the SEC wouldn't. I don't know why the SEC would want that to happen and allow that to happen. The SEC could be like, yeah, man, awesome. Good job with Washington and Oregon. We just got Florida State and Clemson. That's a wrap. When it comes to championships, when it comes to exposure, revenue, history, tradition, it is a wrap. So that's why I just think that the SEC, you could say it's peaked. It hasn't even added Texas and Oklahoma yet. So if it added Texas and Oklahoma, and then 2 years later or a year later, Florida State and Clemson, well, then it's over. But I also think I think Florida State and Clemson are very, very appealing to the Big Ten. I don't know how it couldn't be. I just don't know how it couldn't be. Yeah. It makes your conference nationally relevant, where you can actually compete and win national championships on a regular basis instead of always hoping that Ohio State can get it done for you, or Michigan. You got USC, Florida State, and Clemson joining the fray now. You're on par with the SEC.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be able to write the bigger checks in 10 years. But
I would think it depends on who takes Florida State and Clemson. If the question is, like, let's say Florida State is moving in 2 years, I think the conference that gets Florida State and Clemson wins.
Yeah.
I know it might be Homer. It might be it's clearly subjective. It's a subjective point of view. I cover Florida State. I get it. But I don't think I'm overselling their value in their history and their tradition within this sport. I just don't. And you throw in Clemson there too. Florida State and Clemson are as big, in my opinion, as Texas and Oklahoma. Maybe bigger. Look, man, Texas has won 1 title in my lifetime. Florida State and Clemson have won 6.
I know, but does 60% of the country know where Clemson's located?
Well, I hope they do. You mean like as far as it's in South Carolina?
Yeah, like I don't.
I was going to say it's Clemson. I used to think Clemson and Auburn were states.
Yeah, exactly. See what I'm saying?
It's an old joke. But yeah, I get it. But I'm just saying, when you're talking about performance on the field and eyeballs on these games, I think Florida State and Clemson sure would at least rival Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah. Right? I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look up Florida State Clemson viewership, Texas Oklahoma viewership.
Oh gosh, I hope we can do it quickly.
Well, keep going. You go to the next question.
10 years from now, though, I think, I'm worried about trophy cases. I get it. We want to be making as much money as we possibly can. I think, as long as you get a spot in one of those, you're financially fine. I think you look at the next 10 years, starting once we go to this 12-team playoff. If you go from 2024 to 2034, I would guess the SEC is going to end up having more national champions in football than the Big Ten will. So I want to be part of that party. But I'll be part of either party. I'm fine going to Madison. I'll go to West Lafayette, East Lansing, if I have to. Let's go to Naples, though. Mark, Adam Check, our guy. Wait up! I've always wondered this, so here it goes. If you could have a beer with Odell Haggins, ask him 2 questions, knowing that you get a complete and truthful answer, what would those questions be? To me, Mark, it would be a question about Jimbo's later years or the short Taggart era. Or it could be something more positive, going back to Jimbo's earlier years, the Bowden Dynasty era. The man has literally seen it all. Also, Aslan, what's your favorite Clarkism? You guys are great. LSU, only a few weeks away. I love our chances. Go Noles.
Do you have a favorite Clarkism?
Come on. Iron sharpens iron, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's going to follow me everywhere. Absolutely.
If I could ask Odell 2 things. Just, what was, when you told, I guess, something about asking or telling Kendall that you're going to run the offense for the next 3 games, God willing, we'll make it to a bowl game. Are you going to look at 13? Was that one of the first things that came up? When Kendall could just do whatever he wanted in those 3 games? And then maybe I would just be like, hey, man, give me your favorite Jimbo story that would make me love him forever, and then give me the story that would make me hate him. Just so I could balance it out. But I'm always going to love you, Jimbo.
Yeah, I think those are good answers. I would probably go back to his first job at Florida State, I believe, was coaching tight ends.
Correct.
And so I would go back to those days. Did he think he was gonna be a college coach in 2023 back then? This was a stopgap in his career and his life, or was this a passion that he developed when he got here, or was it always a passion? I think that would be interesting. So, but I don't really have a great. I shouldn't say I don't have a great relationship with Odell, because that sounds like we have a bad one. It's like when you tell somebody, I'm not a big fan of Mumford and Sons. It makes it sound like you don't like them. Right. And no, I like them fine. I'm just not a big fan of them. I'm not like a Stephanie with Dave Matthews fan. I'm not a big fan. I'm an okay fan. Well. So I think what the meaning of that is when you tell somebody, well, I don't have a great relationship with Odell, it makes it sound like it's strained. Or it's strenuous. I don't think he knows my name. I just don't have a relationship with the guy. Yeah. But we got no ill will. Yeah. But so I don't think he would really divulge it. But with the premise of the question, I would ask him about his early years in coaching and what that was like. So I did look it up. So last year, Florida State and Clemson. Hey, I'll admit when I was wrong. Last year, I think these are the right numbers.
Are you talking about the game of them playing each other or their individual?
No, just the games playing each other.
All right.
Florida State and Clemson was $3.4 million, and the Texas-Oklahoma game was $5.6 million. But were they – I don't remember what – like Florida State had just lost 2 in a row. Clemson's offense was terrible. I don't know what games they were matched up against that Saturday night. I do know that because when I first looked up Florida State-Clemson ratings – like the 16 game, 15 game was the one I somehow clicked on, and that got 6 million viewers. So
well, they were both 3-2 going into the game last year, Texas and Oklahoma. So
okay,
and it was a 49-0 destroying.
Maybe I clicked the wrong one. That maybe I hit the wrong one. Let's see.
Or maybe Texas is just a bigger state than South Carolina.
Yep. This was 5 years ago.
Oh, all right.
So forget all that. Forget all that. That was it said 2022, and now I'm looking at it. It's 2000.
See.
It's 2000. It remains. The point remains. They're evenly watched for the most part. Rivalries. Right. Texas and I have to imagine. I don't have to imagine. Florida State draws more viewers annually when they're both similar than Oklahoma, and it's probably very even with Texas, and it has been for decades. So again, I'm just saying. If Florida State's operating at peak efficiency with that kind of with these kind of teams that they could have, that kind of revenue, they will have millions of eyeballs on them. It is a huge get to get Florida State into your conference.
I will bring this up next time we're around Jeff Cameron. I just want to be like, Jeff, Corey said on the record he thinks Clemson's as valuable as Oklahoma, if not more valuable.
No, Florida State.
Yes,
I didn't
course.
say Clemson.
Well, no, I thought you said Florida State and Clemson are more than Texas and Oklahoma.
As valuable, I meant that rivalry game would get similar ratings, and it does. I mean, I haven't proven it, but it gets similar ratings. But my point being, I think Florida State versus Ole Miss, would get better ratings than Oklahoma versus Ole Miss.
Okay.
I can't prove it, but that's what I believe.
Let's go to the Commonwealth, Kentucky. Bourbon is your friend. Dave, Bardstown. Today, I hope he's talking about Thursday. He wrote this on Wednesday. Thursday, we're hoping, is Jordan Travis 2022 passing touchdowns away from the LSU game. Question.
Okay.
Which transfer who left Florida State will you be rooting for the most this season? Trayshawn Ward, obvious answer, but Micah Pittman, Malik McClain, Travis Jay are all possible answers, I suppose. Aslan, you also must admit that my limerick from 2021 is more relevant to FSU football now. Am I right? I don't recollect the limerick word for word, but the spirit of it resides in me still. So I will admit so. Who do I miss?
I'll say
who do I root for the most?
I mean, Trayshawn's the obvious answer, and it's obvious for a reason. That's my answer.
Okay.
He was here longer. He started as a walk-on. He's played and made plays for this program, including the bowl win. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. He's a tough kid, and I wish him the best. I hope he has 1,000 yards out there, man, because he's got to live in Manhattan, Kansas. I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I have no ill towards anybody. I'll be rooting for all of them equally. Like, I won't be any more or less excited if one of them has a great game. I hope they all do well. Like, I hope Duke Cooper finds it and regains it. I hope Derek McClendon lives up to, his expectations of being a game wrecker and a big time player. Hope Travis Jay can see the field and live up to the vast potential I don't want to say we, but a lot of folks thought he had coming out of high school. Actually, I should say we. I thought he'd be just fine coming out of high school, but I never, totally bought into, he's just going to be amazing. I mean, I get it. It's a business. They're leaving. They're coming and going, just the same way that I'd feel about the guys that are here now. So it's the game that we now cover. So We have to do it. Noleboy02, Corey. Opinions on the ACC Network announcing a couple nights ago that they plan to make a documentary on the 1999 Florida State football team. Are you excited, or do you think this is an attempt of the ACC to appease Florida State? Man, that's a story that needs to be told that I don't think has really been delved into. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's the 25-year anniversary coming up next year, so I guess that's the timing of it. And they did have that cool Charlie Ward documentary. I would think this was probably already in the works. I don't think last week had anything to do with that necessarily. But it is cool. Like, the ACC should do more stuff like this. And unfortunately, when it comes to these football stories, not a lot of all the other conferences, not a lot of the other teams in the conference have anything to add. Like, I think they have Georgia Tech, the 90 Georgia Tech team. I've seen some stuff with the 90 Virginia team, who was number 1 in the country for half a second until they lost to Georgia. But there's not a lot of, like, maybe they've done this and I haven't seen it, but why not like a retrospective 30 for 30 type thing on Lawrence Taylor?
Right.
I mean, come on, man. You have maybe the best defensive player of all time that played in your conference. Not played on a team that is now in your conference, like, say, Warren Sapp, but actually played in your conference. Derek Brooks would be another really good one. I mean, Florida State has a million, and they've done Charlie, so they still got a lot of other guys to get to before they get to Lawrence Taylor. Sorry, LT.
Just to zag slightly, I don't like when they're produced in-house, kind of. The ACC Network's going to try to make everything so rosy. I mean, not that there was any kind of underlying evil or sinister things going on with the 99 team, but sometimes I like these things to be done kind of from the outside a little bit, or at least someone that's pretty objective about things. Like Billy Corbin, I know he's a huge Miami guy, but like he kind of put Miami's, he showed some of the uglier stuff in the part 2 that they did on the U. Not that stuff was going on at Florida State, but it's just we get it. Like, it's going to start off with a shot of Bobby Bowden's office with a frame with no picture in it. And it's going to have a soundbite of, Bobby talking about Ann bought him this frame, and he kept it and told himself he would never put a photo in that until he had a team that went undefeated. And then, boom, on the screen comes the title, the 1999 team, Chasing Greatness. And here's the thing. Here's the thing with documentaries. I need to learn 2-3 things I didn't know about something I'm interested in before I watch this documentary. Like, I need to learn some new cool things. I need to walk away from it. If this is going to be Bowden chasing his one undefeated season, old dude quarterback, and once-in-a-lifetime receiver that should have won the Heisman. Like, if that's the whole story, then, like, all right, I already know that. So, just hopefully they'll be able to teach us some new things. That's all I want. Just want some new things. Let's move on. Hate Canes. H and then the numeral 8, which is hate on the internet. Canes. Why would Micah Pittman be allowed to play for 3 teams in 3 seasons, but not Darrell Jackson? Well,
good question. Micah Pittman graduated, though, right?
Well, also Micah Pittman's coach left where he was at, which allows you, as part of the one-time transfer thing. And I also think that also gives you the extra bullet in your chamber to be able to leave when you leave Florida State. But I think he might have also graduated, to your point as well, though, Corey.
Yeah, I think he walked. I can't remember. I thought he graduated in the spring. I thought there was a vlog about it, but I could be just projecting or misremembering. But I think that's I think he went as a grad transfer, which Darrell Jackson didn't graduate, so he didn't graduate from Miami, so he wasn't allowed to, quote, grad transfer to another school. Like, there are no limitations to grad transfers. You can leave. That's how he could have left anyway, but I think the Wake quarterback was a grad transfer.
Well, our guy,
I could be wrong, though.
Your guy JT Daniels, that's played everywhere. He's a grad.
Jeez.
Yeah, Pittman is a graduate senior. So as a graduate senior, Pittman put all his chips into Utah. So yeah, that's that factor. Again, man, the NCAA has no juice, much juice, but if they can rally around some kind of premise about we want to lift up the student part of student athlete, we'll give you all the freedom you want if you're a graduate, but we're going to pull back if you're not, and we also think there's other things to play that deals with your enrollment. So that's what they want to do. Old Dad's a Nole. Wake up, guys. I just renewed my subscription, so you have another year of this banter. I mean, how could I not? Thank you, old dad. We love you, man.
Amen. Good job, old dad.
Okay. All right, the fact the ACC are supposedly very open to adding Cal, Stanford, and now SMU screams out that they are being proactive to anticipating losing some schools. I totally agree with you. That's my interpretation. What are your thoughts on why those drab schools? Cheers to another year, old dad. Well, because you probably have a lot of leverage on the first two, right? I'm not going to sit here for this.
Well, no, I'm not going to sit here and listen to this. You guys besmirch the names of Cal and Stanford and SMU when it comes to football.
Good.
Right? I don't want to. It was just 40 years ago that John Elway was quarterback in the Stanford Cardinal while Eric Dickerson was part of the Pony Express at SMU. And somebody was playing for Cal, and they had a band member on the field. The Stanford band was on the field, but the Cal was winning that game, the band game. Man,
Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera played for Cal. Ron Rivera, I think, was on that team.
Okay, there you go. Okay, we all know Aaron Rodgers did 20 years later, and then that's been about it out there. But look, guys, when you can get Cal and Stanford and SMU, if you can get these types of programs to join, you have to do it. You have to. Look, yes, I think that's a very good point that they might be trying to they have some ducks in a row if teams do leave. But what would be the point? Like, how would you convince – say the Big 12 goes to Louisville and says, look, we want to offer you and NC State and Virginia Tech a spot in the Big 12. You're not going to the Big 10. You're not going to the SEC clearly. But you guys are – if the ACC replaces – Florida State and Clemson and, let's say, Miami, with SMU, Cal, and Stanford, why would you stay in this league? Come to the Big 12 and make a few, probably make $5, $6, $8 million more per year and still compete at a relatively high level in a football conference. I think they would. That's what the Big 12 should be doing. But yes, I guess because why would if you're the AD at Louisville and you're told, look, man, it looks like FSU and Clemson are going to leave. They're going to be out of the conference in a few years. All right, well, what are we going to do? Well, we're bringing in Cal and Stanford and SMU. You'd be like, what? What? That doesn't do anything. Or they're going to go. Our value's going to go down. So I would think they're trying to keep. They're trying to have some replacements in place. They're also, I guess, trying to think that there's some notoriety with getting a school like Stanford and a market like Dallas for SMU, but it's just it's foolish. Those three schools will do nothing for the revenue of the conference, which sadly is all that matters.
But
Stanford's great for the athletics program, but they will do nothing financially viable for the ACC. Not one. They will not make the ACC will not make one penny more because of Stanford athletics.
I mean, just listen. We know we're not their audience. We're not Tobacco Road's audience. Like we like basketball, but we just live, breathe, die, sleep, eat football. So they're not doing this to appease Florida State fans. I mean, they're doing this to make the double Tar Heel graduate and the Virginia lawyer that likes college sports but doesn't live, breathe, and die with it, Like, hey, we just lost Florida State and Clemson, but we're adding Cal and Stanford, and we're also going to add SMU. You can go hang out, watch your if you're an alumni of those teams in Dallas, now you get a chance to watch those teams. So, I mean, you're putting lipstick on a pig to a certain degree, but you're also kind of speaking to a constituency that we're not part of. Like, we're not built like these other folks that, kind of like college sports but don't love it and live and die with everything.
Could be, and if it ends up happening with Florida State and Clemson leaving and these 2 or 3 schools joining, embrace it. Like that might be just them embracing who they are. We care about academics. That's great.
Yeah, they're leaning into it.
It's been great for the Florida State academically.
Yeah.
But, lean into it. Yeah. You're not going to compete in football ever. But lean into the academics part of it and lean into the fencing and the tennis.
Oh, man. Hey, how about you lean into mybookie.ag, and by leaning in, use that promo code WARCHANT, get you an instant cash deposit bonus based on a percentage of what you've started your account off with. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere over at MyBookie. They've got a casino, live casino. You can play some of those card games, if you will, spin the roulette wheel. Major League Baseball, obviously, Major League Soccer, tennis, hockey's out there, international hockey, biathlon, I've mentioned this, table tennis. You can even bet on some political stuff here we don't want to get into the politics, but you can bet who's going to be the next president and things of that nature. Let me see what's like a good, interesting college football line that we haven't talked about here in week 1. We're getting close, Corey. As Dave in Bardstown said, Jordan Travis passing touchdowns away from this all. What do we like here? What kind of games can I get Corey Clark to really sink his teeth into? What do you think about Southern Cal taking on San Jose State? 63.5 points are the total. I mean, what do you see? Southern Cal is going to score 48, and you think San Jose State can hit?
That seems fair.
Can San Jose State score 16?
21?
21?
Yeah. I like the over there, Aslan. That's a good point. I like the over.
All right, look at that. Look how easily I just convinced Corey Clark. It's amazing. But bet responsibly at home, though, everybody. For real. Bet responsibly. Bet what you can afford. Don't go over it. Set a budget. Be disciplined. Go to mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use the promo code WARCHANT for an instant cash bonus. All right, I think we got one more here, Corey. One more. Look at that. We'll leave the thread open. We'll sprinkle maybe a few more in here because there's some people that got a spot in line, Corey, where they just post like, what's up? But then they don't actually have their question ready to go, so we'll give them some time. But anyhow, it's our guy S. Quinn67. Wake up, we finally made it. Football is back. Thanks for bringing such great content for us all summer. After we get through this expansion stage of conference realignment, when do you think the Power 2 will contract and expel the deadweight schools? I can see this growth phase going up to 20 schools each, and then the Power 2 will get rid of schools that don't add value. He says Indiana, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Rutgers are on the chopping block. Go Noles, S. Quinn 67, class of 93. I think Missouri, I don't know. Missouri can compete.
Yeah, man, look, I do think that I think that will happen at some point.
That's so gross, man. That's not. Ugh.
I mean, it's the reality of it, though, right? All of this is gross.
Ugh.
Like, when we talk about it in the moment, I hope we all know and have in 10 years when we're the retrospective to know that we all think this is gross. None of us like it. But the reality is that money's driving everything. And if you have it's not just that Vanderbilt, Missouri, Rutgers don't win anything. They don't bring anything. They don't bring anything of value.
College baseball, the Vandy boys.
I said value.
Right.
A financial value. They don't bring anything. So if you're, let's just say Georgia, who is Georgia and Alabama are a big reason why the SEC is getting all this money, and then you're like, well, Vanderbilt, what are you doing with your $70 million? You're just pocketing it. It's like the Pirates owner or an NBA owner that just puts out a horrible product every year and keeps the revenue. That's why I think it's the NBA is whatever their salary cap is.
They got a floor
knows,
though.
Man,
they've got a salary floor though. At least I don't know if
they've got a salary
baseball
floor.
does.
Exactly right, where they have to spend 90%. I think it's 90% of the salary cap. You can't just have an owner that spends 20% of the salary cap and puts out a horrible product and keeps the money. You have to invest back in the players. So, at some point, I think something like that will come to college football. Will it happen in my lifetime? I don't know. But I do think it'll happen where you're going to look at these schools and go like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all in this $70 million? What are y'all doing with your football investment? Because you're always bad and nobody cares. And I think that eventually you would see a Rutgers or a Vanderbilt or a Missouri exiled to another league to go play football because they just don't bring anything of football value. And I think the Alabamas, Georgias, Florida States, Clemson's would get tired of carrying the weight. And there might be some renovations, let's say, to these conferences because we all think it's going to end up being, 40 teams, 45 teams?
Yeah.
Does Vanderbilt, Missouri really belong in it? They've had 100 years to prove they're worthy of competing for football national titles, and they have not done it. Same with you, NC State and Wake. You're not relevant. And sadly, this sport has become all about the top. The top, 33% of the country. So top 40 schools that actually are viable, and everybody else can go kick rocks.
I mean, University of Missouri is like the flagship of, I don't know, a fairly populous state. I just wonder,
Sorry.
What do you want? What could Vanderbilt do? Like if Kirby quits,
give the money back. Give half of it back to sprinkle to the teams that actually earn that money.
Yeah.
Like what Washington, it could be like what Washington and Oregon are doing. Like they're taking a reduced cost to join the Big Ten, right?
Yeah,
They're coming in at a reduced cost.
So
maybe that's the
is
answer.
Texas and Oklahoma. Actually, Ira and I found this on the Monday Smash. That even Texas and Oklahoma, the first year or two or whatever, until the new TV deal comes.
Until the new TV, and then they're going to be making 70 each.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would think that could be we'll let you stay in the conference and be homecoming opponents for all the schools on your schedule, but you're taking it a reduced revenue. But I don't know, man. I'm not smart enough to know where this is going. I do know that it's not something I'm happy about, but I also think that Florida State and Clemson will certainly be in one of the two main power conferences, which is how I think this all shakes out, if and when that final domino ever falls.
All right, well said. All right, we're going to be at practice, so check out warchant.com for updates, interviews, practice footage, maybe a video wrap-up recap, probably, Corey, so wear your favorite polo.
Try to find some shade. We're going to try to find some shade.
Not a lot out there, though. Not a lot. It's a lot of pavement and open grass. So
yep,
we got you folks covered. Jeff Cameron's got you covered as well, 1 to 3 o'clock, 93.3 FM in the greater Tallahassee area, as well as Warchant TV. You can watch that worldwide on the internets, www.youtube.com/warchantcom. That's our YouTube handle, warchantcom. I wasn't here for that one, but we've built this thing. It's crazy. We love everybody for listening to the show. Hit the thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. 5-star rating review elsewhere otherwise. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.